I am feeling great. I am feeling very energized, happy, and warm. Small community in Nairobi, in Kenya, in Nairobi. And wow, when I remember about childhood is playing. We used to play a lot. We didn't spend a lot of time in the house. We loved playing with our neighbors. One of my favorite games was skip rope. We used to love doing the skip rope, and actually running around. We made up our own games when growing up, like anything that was fun and had a lot of energy, and a place where you could have a bigger group to play with was one of the things that I loved about my childhood. Yeah, well, I grew up in Satellite. It's a small, again, it's very small, kind of small, but not really small community. I was raised by my mom and dad, who were also born in Kenya. And even though they were born more in the village, in Nyeri, they grew up more in a village. But I think one of the things I remember is my dad and my parents, my mom and my dad always wanted the best for us, right? So we grew up always knowing that, and they wanted us to grow up in this place where there was a lot of community, there's a lot of networking with people, knowing that, maybe your parents don't have to be home, your neighbors were always like your next, actually you almost called your neighbors your mom, right? So it was this very open environment that people believed in you. My parents were big believers in us. Wanted to make sure that we had the best life. We went to school, and that's a little bit most of the time I remember about my childhood. It was really, I remember it being very fun and very loving, we always had dinner together at the house. My parents really valued spending time with us. I think my most memorable moments is when we were going to town, where my dad will take us or my mom will take us to, eat out, like eat ice cream. Growing up, where you didn't grow up where you were had a lot of money, those things felt like, wow, when you get that treat about just even ice cream. I do remember us going to the park when we used to have a lot of picnics. That's something I used to love. And we'll have all the birds, you have to hide your food because the birds will come and try to eat the food. So that's one of the things I remember about my childhood. Yeah, relationships and was one of the most, wow, that was probably my biggest anchor in life, is making sure that is growing up in a community where people believed in you, is growing up in a community where people had your back, and that's what is, and just always looking out for the person next to you, always looking out for your neighbors, always looking out for your friends, and that's kind of, and those relationships is like those that you don't even forget about those relationships. It's not more of you're just meeting somebody just to meet somebody. It felt like, how can we help each other and how can we stay in connection with each other, regardless of, whether we go back home or whatever. Even when we separate, it felt like somebody, they left like a mark in your heart that you always remember. My classmates thought of me as a leader, actually, because I remember every time they wanted to get something done, they will always pick on me to be that person, to either represent them in a lot of the things. I think they thought I was very bold, and I was very sure of myself, and at a very young age. And I think that was one of the things that a lot of my friends, if you meet them at least they will always remember my energy, and they will always remember um, my ability to go for what I want and not. I was never a shy person in school. I was never shy. Some of the things that led to it is openness, being able to be open, and being able to experiment, with life, was one of the things that I would say. Yes, yes. I think when growing up, it's the ability to give back to either the people who believed in you, and the community, and the impact that you have on people. And always, again, it's not about yourself. It's always about how much can you, if people pour a lot in you, and how do you give that back to people? And that's some of the things that maybe my childhood has helped me do. Yeah, and so I look at it as a journey. I think when you're working with my clients, when I'm working with your clients, it's about being able to find that connection of where people are from or what makes them so unique. And I think that's why it's great to always revisit where people are from. And when you're working with people, and when you look at it as a journey too, it's where you're giving your clients the ability to maybe even make mistakes and stumble, and not making sure that, not allowing them to feel like they need to know everything, right? And being able to trust you enough to be able to have those touch points within their life as they move forward and into maybe what they want to create for themselves. I feel like a lot of people, you don't want to have people have a fear because they think they have to be somebody else. But I think when you find that unique ability of people to revisit, to almost tell a story of where they come from, I think that what makes the experience of a client so unique. So what is executive coaching? Executive coaching is when you partner with clients, right? And you take them actually through this journey, and where they see themselves as something bigger than themselves, because I think everybody has this innate ability to want to do something special in life with their career or who they are as a person. And sometimes maybe our behaviors get in the way. So when you work with an executive coach, right, you have to be able to take that journey with a coach, and it's not a matter of me having the answers. A lot of the time when you're doing executive coaching is having that innate ability to know that the person has the answers in them, and so you are just partnering them, asking the right questions, believing in them, and being able to know that they have their own answer, and you're kind of just walking in this journey with them. The name Rise Above Coaching is exactly kind of what I wanted my clients to experience. It's feeling that they could rise above any either obstacles, or they could rise above even the experience that they have coaching with me, and that once they go out, they are whole and they are resourceful by themselves. And I think that to me is why I picked the name Rise Above Coaching. It feels like you have to allow people to elevate themselves. And when people elevate themselves, then they're able to do the things that they hope and that they feel will fulfill their life. And that's why we chose the word Rise Above Coaching. What sets me apart as an executive coach is my ability to connect with people, my ability to honor people's gifts, and my ability to also bring a little energy, because I think life is something that's fun and dynamic, and I think I like to see my clients feel that way about themselves, and that's one of the most unique things that I bring. So what led me to where I am today is of having worked in the corporate world for so many years, quite a few years. I feel like there's a little bit of lack of creativity, or maybe there is. Everybody again is creative, but it's the ability to harness that creativity and without being put in a box too much. And so after many years of that, and many years of like I said, trying to feel like you have to step, you move one step forward and you think you're doing something with your life, but then you have to relearn, the whole corporate world, the whole corporate setting of that particular company. And I think that's a lot. And I think to me, felt like that really holds you back rather than move you forward. And that's why I started my executive coach. And I think my journey of resilience, my journey of even just struggles, not being able to be myself was one of the things that actually made me change my career and start my own company, because I wanted people to walk in a space when they're working with me where they could actually be themselves. Yeah, and as an executive coach, I think my resilience working through the corporate world, there's a lot of stifling of maybe creativity a lot, and a lot of fear to be yourself, a lot of fear because either there's just too many rules to follow in the corporate world, and I think that limits people's creativity. And so I chose to do what I do because I wanted to break through that barrier, for people and how they see themselves. Because sometimes the systems that actually where corporate worlds are built in are very hard. I feel like very hard to navigate. But and that's what I work with clients with. How do you still work in something like that, or how do you even change the system for yourself, right? How are you able to navigate through that? And that's what I try to help my clients achieve as they're working with me. Yeah, I think with executive coaching, one is, yes, understanding what executive coaching is. And I think also being able to know that you have to put in the work as an individual. Because again, as I mentioned, executive coaching is more of a journey and a partnership. And that's some of the challenges. But also, there are a lot of things maybe from a political or economic side that hinder people from maybe doing executive coaching. The point of even diversity, equity, and inclusion, and like sometimes there's some bills that sometimes may be passed that maybe even might halt the work of bringing in inclusion, bringing in diversity. And so those are some of the things that I think are one of the biggest barriers to people getting executive coaching, is being able to have those systems that are not open to people being able to get, like an executive coach that will help them propel to the next level. It's very different. Growing up in Kenya, I think there was this thing of where color didn't really matter. I think it was more about the person and what that person brings in terms of qualities and like I said, skills and gifts, right? Because everybody has a special gift. And moving into the United States was a really big cultural shock, because for the first time as a woman, you even question who you are, right? You have to fit into, it feels like you have to fit into something, and you're trying, you spend so much of your life and time thinking about where do I fit in, right? Rather than how do I take this strong, the charisma of a human being, even as a woman, how do I take that and not be looked at having to always make a case of why they should actually it's more of attention. Actually, it's like a lot of attention. You crave a lot of attention that is unnecessary, and that was one of the things that I saw was very different. I honor the fact that I grew up in a country where community is valued, relationships are valued, and like I just said, I think always you know that somebody has your back and everybody believes in you. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways that I see very, very different from the culture there. You feel more of it's a very lonely type of a culture because it feels like you have to just have it rather than, oh, this is a journey where you could have different experiences and that's fine. So that is one of the things that I feel are very different in culture. And then would I take back growing up in Kenya? Probably not. I think that's what again makes me so unique is because I think you learn to love the small things in life and value the small things in life. And that makes a big difference in how you see people and how you see the world. When you work with me as a coach, at Rise Above Coaching, I think what you're signing up for is the partnership with me as a coach. It's not looking outside yourself. It's always making sure that you look inside yourself because you have everything that you need in order for you to succeed. And that's one of the biggest experiences when you want to do it. When you want to do executive coaching, it's about trust and it's about exploration. I would say you have to be being able to give yourself permission to explore on what the journey of fulfillment for yourself feels like, and that is one of the things that is so unique about working with Rise Above Coaching is because you provide that space where people could be creative, where people could be themselves, but also transforming as well. The ability to communicate, the ability to believe in themselves, because of course when you're not able to when you're not able to be yourself, then people make up things about who you are, or they make a lot of assumptions about you. So it's very critical to understand that communication is very key, and also the trust in the process as you work with a coach is a journey on itself. I would say a lot of joy. Joy is one of the things that is, and happiness is one of the things that a lot of people seek. So I think creating a space when they're with me where they could feel that warmth, that connection, that sense of community, that sense of belonging for themselves is really, really a key factor in them, rising above where they want to see themselves. When I think rebranding is innovation, right? And also, it's also knowing that you could make that pivot anytime in your career, anytime in your life, right? When you feel something and when something is, you have that calling to do something different, you have to trust the process. And that's how I would summarize the rebranding, is even for me trying to trust myself and hoping that the clients could also see that, wow, you could actually pivot any time of your life. And that's one of the things that I thought the rebranding was. The reason why is sometimes I feel like you really can't take your clients where you've not been. And I think knowing people that they could believe in the foundation that they have is very key, because at the end of the day, you see, I came back to where I grew up, and that to me that's where I draw my inspiration, because it's something so pure, it's something so authentic, it's something where I felt like I owned their journey, and that's what I want my clients to feel, is like they own their own journey. And yeah, I think that's very powerful. I would say what Joyce does, or what I do as a coach is something magical. Is something that I see. I love. I love doing what I do every day, and I bring that into the environment that I watch my. I see my clients bring a lot. I bring a lot of joy to the client relationship, and I bring a lot of authenticity to the client relationship, and that's what. That's who Joyce is, and the energy as well.